皆さんこんにちは。世界の英語教育シリーズのお時間でございます。このシリーズはですね、世界中でどのように英語教育が行われているのかっていうのを紹介するシリーズなんですけど、今回はですね、カナダの英語教育を紹介します。で、カナダ人って言ったら英語のネイティブスピーカーになるんですけれども、カナダって実は公用語が英語以外にフランス語もあるんですよ。なのでちょっと特殊な国なんですよ。ということで、今回は DMM 英会話のクリス先生にいろいろ質問をしてみました。例えばどれぐらいの人が英語とフランス語の完全バイリンガルなのかとか、先生自身が英文法を学校で学んだことがあるのかとか、今後 AI の発展によって英語講師の仕事ってどうなると思いますかとか、面白い質問をたくさんしましたので、ぜひ楽しんでください。で、いつものように対談の後に私の感想を述べます。では早速楽しんでください。どうぞ。Okay, so maybe can we start off with like a brief self-introduction for my viewers?
Oh yeah, of course, of course. Yeah, my name is Chris. I'm from Vancouver, Canada. I've been teaching on DMM for a few years now. Uh, I'm actually currently living in Japan
Oh, is that
at the
right?
moment.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and previously I was living in Australia
Okay.
for a few years.
Okay. Wow. Did you know that I used to
Yeah.
live in Australia as well?
Oh, I did not get that far. No, I didn't. Where,
Yeah.
where did you
So
live?
yes, I was born in Japan, but yeah, I moved when I was 3 to Australia, New South Wales,
Ah,
and
right.
yeah, I lived there for 20 years.
I see. That explains the accent.
Yeah, that's right. It's not a typical Australian accent, but yeah. So
Right. I
where
was
did you
wondering.
where did you live in Australia?
I lived in Melbourne,
Oh, Melbourne.
Australia.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
great place as well. So, but obviously you spent most of your life in Canada.
Most of my life in Canada. That's right.
Okay. So one of the first questions I wanted to ask you is, so obviously in Japan, most people speak Japanese and they can
Hmm.
understand Japanese, and that's pretty much the only language that they use and understand. But I know that in Canada, you have two official languages, so English and French.
That's right.
Yeah. So do you speak fluent French as well?
Uh, Not at all.
Oh, is that
Not at
right?
all.
Okay.
I So my experience with French is you do in Canada, at least when I was growing up, you had to take French until grade 10.
Okay.
And then after that, you could drop the language and not study language, or you could take another language. So actually, at that point, I dropped French for Japanese, actually.
Right, right. Okay.
Hmm.
So most students have to start learning French at school from what
Hmm.
age?
Oh, good question. I might have to think about that.
Okay.
You do start French quite early on
Mm.
in elementary school. When did we start learning French? It was definitely early on in elementary school.
Right.
I can't give you the specific grade,
Mm.
but maybe at the very beginning, you
Mm.
do learn a bit of French.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah.
So, what percentage of people living in Canada would you say are like complete bilinguals who can speak English and French like equally well?
Oh man, good question. Um, I would say it does depend.
Mm.
For example, in my city, I'm from Vancouver,
Yeah.
and I would, without looking at any stats, hazard a guess that the majority of people do not speak French.
Is that
Uh,
right?
yeah, I would say
Oh,
more than 90%
okay.
don't speak French at all. But, once you go to Montreal,
Mm.
I think the majority of people there are bilingual. So
Mm.
if I am on the street in Montreal, usually people will say bonjour,
Oh,
and I'll say hello,
yeah.
and then they'll switch to
Oh,
English.
so it does depend
Mhm.
on the state that we're talking about.
Right.
Okay, wow, that's
Yes.
interesting. I mean, that would like rarely happen in Japan. Probably never happen in Japan. So,
Uh-huh.
yeah. Okay. All right. Another thing about English education in Canadian schools. So, I remember. So, I received all my education in Australia, and I remember that probably in like the first grade of elementary school, we learned maybe phonics, like for example, how to
Mm.
pronounce O. No, it can be like long, like moon, or it could be
Hmm.
short, like cook. But other than that, I don't really remember learning much about grammar. Like, I
Mhm.
don't think I was ever explicitly taught about what like a noun was or what an
Right.
adjective was or something like that. But do you remember ever being taught grammar like that at your school?
Yeah. That's I do remember I have a hazy memory of
Mm,
some focus on grammar
mm,
in the very beginning. But I think I have that same experience where I don't really remember learning
mm.
about any of these things. Like I didn't learn what a gerund was until a few years
Yeah,
ago.
yeah.
Um, so I think there were some things like especially terms that can be applied to more advanced academic texts
Mm,
that I learn about.
mm.
But some of the more basic stuff, it kind of feels like you're just supposed to pick that up
Yeah.
naturally
Mm,
in the beginning until there was more of a focus on like reading comprehension.
mm.
Mm.
Yeah. So I think that's the same with me. So I probably learned what a gerund was when I was like a university student because
Ah,
I was studying to become a teacher. So we had to
right.
learn, all the grammar. And yeah, it was interesting. I found that, the more I learned about grammar, the
Mm.
more kind of, interesting it seemed. And I think it really did help me to write better English as well. So
Right.
yeah, how do you think studying grammar as a native speaker like changed your kind of perspective on English?
Oh, I yeah, and it definitely did because I became more analytical thinking about English,
Mm,
and I think it's really helpful, of course, when you're teaching English to actually go back and try to study these things that learners need to learn
yeah,
because you kind of just have an intuitive sense of the language and you're like you recognize what's right always, but you can't always
that's
explain
right.
why that's the case.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of situations like that in the beginning, and I was like, maybe I need to go back and look at some of this stuff.
Mm,
And it really helped for teaching. And I would say, yeah, for understanding the language and thinking about it in a different way.
mm.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. So do you plan on like making this a lifetime career? Like, do you want to continue teaching for as long as possible?
Oh, that's a good question.
Mm,
I'm definitely the kind of person who takes, one day, lives his life one day at a time. Um, but if you told me I was going to teach English for the rest of my life,
mm,
I'd be like, sounds good.
mm,
That's great.
mm,
Because I think I do get a lot of enjoyment out of this,
mm.
and meeting the people that I do is really great. Um, so yeah, honestly, yeah, I don't know, but I am passionate about teaching English, and I do get a lot of enjoyment
Mm,
from it.
yeah.
So taking that further sounds like a great idea for me.
Mm. The reason why I ask is because you're probably aware of like
Mhm.
AI advancing and how
Aha,
students are able to learn quite effectively by using like
right.
ChatGPT, and
Mhm,
you can definitely improve like your writing skills by
mhm,
writing essays and letting ChatGPT check it and even give you
mhm.
advice. And now they've even got like AI that can speak to you, so you can pretty
Right.
much have conversations. And I'm wondering if more people might start preferring these technologies because
Aha.
yeah, people might feel more comfortable if they
Mhm,
know that it's
mhm.
not a person who is judging them, and
Right.
they can practice whenever they want, and it might be cheaper than actually getting lessons from a teacher.
Mhm,
So I'm
mhm.
wondering if the demand for this job is going to like drastically decrease in the future.
Ah,
So what
aha.
do you think about AI and English learning?
Right. I do naturally think there is that scary aspect
Mm.
that I think is going through a lot of people's minds is like, how much can AI replace me and what I do? How I like to think about it in an ideal world is I do think AI is a great tool for learners, and they should use AI. Especially when you're starting out and maybe you're really embarrassed
Mm.
to have a conversation, maybe you can't handle the idea of speaking to another person,
Mm.
then using AI to like build that confidence before you do. Um, but I think AI does have its place in learning, but it can't replace that entire human element of learning. And maybe it can kind of replace some things, but when it does, we can more focus on what actual people bring to education and bring to learning. Um, so I would say I'm personally not worried about AI, and I do recommend learners to use it.
Definitely, me
That's how I
too.
feel.
Yeah, I definitely recommend using AI as well. And I'm just hoping that it will never be able to replace like the emotional kind of aspect of teaching.
Right.
Yeah, because obviously, I think part of a teacher's job is to motivate their students, and that's probably something that's still going to be a little difficult for like AI to do. So
Right.
yeah, I think maybe more than having, I think, so obviously being able to speak English and having lots of knowledge about English is going to be important for teachers, but even more important, it's probably going to be their ability to interact with the students and be like a good motivator. Yeah.
Right.
So that's,
Yeah. And that's where I get a lot of that enjoyment, where I think AI can never really replicate when I like compliment people and tell them what they're doing well and why that would make a native speaker feel comfortable. I've had some people kind of like almost want to send me a gift because they're like, oh, wow, that makes me feel so good. Thank you for saying that. No one said that before. No one's thought about that. So I think that human element will just
yeah,
become more important.
definitely. So yeah, I'm starting this series on YouTube to figure out how to improve Japanese English education. And, I think, first of all, it really does depend on the objectives of the learners. What is it that they want to do? And I'm guessing that the majority of people just want to be able to speak, have, daily conversations, simple conversations with another English speaker. Most people aren't probably interested in being able to read like super difficult classic texts and things like that.
Right.
But unfortunately, it seems like school education kind of, is what it's trying to do is equip students with the ability to do just that. But as I said earlier, it's difficult to implement speaking into the school curriculum. So we got a dilemma here. And so
Yeah.
I'm just, trying to speak to as many people as possible from all over the world to try and come up with the best solution for everyone. So, what kind of advice would you give to a person living in Japan who wants to, let's say, improve their English in order to be able to use it practically?
Right. I would say, and I feel like this is an answer you'll get from a lot of people, but I absolutely believe in, is making it fun, making it interesting to you. Of the best speakers that I've met, there was a high school boy who was really into gaming, and he was a huge fan of this American streamer.
Right.
Yeah, and he would shadow this streamer while watching his streams, and he had a flawless American accent, even though he had never been to the US.
Right.
And as I always try to correct people, but I could never correct his grammar.
Wow.
He had just like acquired the language, loved something about it. And another woman I know who's really confident speaking, she was a huge fan of the Kardashians. And she has even though she's never been to California, she has a Valley Girl accent and she speaks really confidently. So if you're learning English, I would say try to find something interesting, something you like, something with novelty that was made by native speakers for native speakers.
Yeah. Definitely agree, because in order to improve your language skills, you need to work on it for a long time, and in order to keep up that motivation, I think it's important to really love what you're doing. So I try to, there are some students who say, well, I'm not interested in anything, but then ask, okay, well, aren't there any like movie stars that you like? If there are, then why don't you look for some interviews of them, and then try to copy them. And so I think trying to find something that you love is maybe one of the best ways to improve your English. Okay.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. All right. So that might be a good place to and our conversation.
Right.
Yeah, I've had a great time. Thanks for agreeing to do this.
Oh, no, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I definitely enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, my
as
viewers are definitely going to get a lot out of this. So, yeah, I'll leave your profile in the descriptions below so that students who are interested in having lessons with you will book some lessons with you.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
I guess I look forward to meeting you guys.
Yes, definitely. Looking forward to the comments as well. All right.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Hopefully
Thank
I
you
can
very much,
talk
An.
to you again someday because
Absolutely.
yeah, you live in Japan, so maybe one day we might
That's right.
see you, might run into you in the streets.
I'll see you out there. That
Okay.
sounds good.
All right, thanks, Chris. See you later. Bye bye.
See ya.
はい、いかがだったでしょうか。カナダの英語教育についてね、新しい発見がたくさんあったと思います。思ったよりね、フランス語と英語両方喋れるバイリンガルって少ないみたいですね。で、クリス先生自身はやっぱり英文法を学校であんまり学んでこなかったと。なんだけど学ぶことによって理解が深まったみたいなことを言ってましたね。私自身もそう思っています。で、何よりね、最後のアドバイスが素晴らしかったと思いました。やっぱりね、英語力を身につけるためには、ある程度長い間ね、続けないといけません。で、長い間続けるためには、やっぱり楽しむことが大事ですよね。本当に何でもいいんですよ。ゲームでも、映画でも。とにかくコツコツ続ければ必ず英語力は上がると思います。はい、ということで今回は以上なんですけれども、実はですね、もうすでに他の先生5人ぐらいと話をしています。で、中にはヨーロッパの先生もいますので、また新たな角度から英語教育についていろいろ学べると思いますので、楽しみにしていてください。それでは今日はここまでです。Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next lesson!